Wait, what? I'm not on the list. Are you serious right now? That's the exact moment I knew. Not suspected, not felt, knew. I was never part of this family in the way I thought I was. It happened last Saturday, outside my mother's 60th birthday party at this fancy-ass ranch event space just outside Austin. Spanish tiles, a string quartet, and little handwritten calligraphy place cards. The whole thing felt like Pinterest had a baby with a Southern lifestyle blog. And yet, I was standing outside in heels, holding a $3,000 gift box with my own damn father blocking the door. "You're not on the list," he said, like he was some security guy at Coachella, not the man who raised me. "No, hi, Avery. No, oh wow, I didn't know you were flying in from Boston. Just stone-cold gatekeeping." I looked past him and saw my sister Sadie inside, laughing with her fiancé like the Duchess of fake warmth. She spotted me through the glass. I kid you not, she smiled, then turned her back. That did it. My stomach twisted. You ever feel like you're watching your own life happen to someone else? Let me back up. A year ago, I was thriving. 34, Director of Product Strategy at Phoenix AI Labs in Boston, good salary, got my own place, weekly kickboxing, therapy, nothing dramatic, just life, finally working after a messy decade. Meanwhile, my sister Sadie had stayed in Austin, joined some boutique finance firm, married richish, and never left the zip code. She was always the responsible one, while I was the black sheep who went too far chasing dreams. To be fair, growing up wasn't all bad. Mom and I used to be close. When I didn't get invited to Olivia Stein's birthday party in 3rd grade, she made cupcakes just for us two, put on sparkly hats, and told me, "You're not missing anything. Kid, they're missing you." But things started shifting the moment I left for MIT. It wasn't an argument, no fallout, just silence, that slow, creeping kind. Holiday phone calls that got shorter, group texts I wasn't included in, passive-aggressive comments from Dad like, "Your sister actually helps your mother. Maybe send fewer gifts and more time." Gifts. Bruh, I was literally covering Mom's dental bill out of pocket while they were posting selfies at Sadie's lake house. Still, I kept trying. Every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, I showed up, smile on, brought wine, chipped in, got ignored. Sadie would talk over me. Dad would talk around me. Nolan, our younger brother, was always on his phone, half checked out. And then, last year happened. Thanksgiving, the breaking point. I don't even know what started it. Sadie had just refilled her wine glass for the 3rd time and said something snide about my job. "So what exactly do you do again? Play with robots?" I let it go at first, but then she kept going. "Must be nice. Living in your Boston bubble while we're here actually caring for Mom. You get to play CEO while we do the real work." Okay, no. I snapped. I said something like, "At least I built my life myself. I didn't marry into stability and call it a virtue." Yeah, I regret nothing. The table went silent. Mom looked hurt. Dad glared. Sadie did that thing where she acts like she's wounded, but she started the damn fire. She said, "I think you should leave." And I did. I packed up my stuff and flew home that night. Nobody texted, nobody called. The only thing I heard from them for the next 3 months was, wait for it, a Facebook post. I was up late at the office one night eating pad thai, finishing slides for the Singapore project when I saw it. Sadie had created a public event page celebrating Caroline Blake 60 Years of Grace, Grit and Glory. Cute banner, massive guest list, caterer from Hill Country Farms, everyone in the damn family invited, except me. No invite, no mention. That was the moment something in me cracked. Not rage, not sadness, just This weird, heavy numbness. I closed my laptop, sat there, and then I did the most un-Avery thing. I called my mom. She picked up. Avery. She sounded surprised, confused, even a little embarrassed. I asked, flat out, why wasn't I invited to your birthday party? She paused. Well, Sadie said you were too busy. That Singapore expansion was next month. She didn't want to pressure you. Bull, absolute bull. Mom, I told you weeks ago I'd make time if anything came up. There was this silence, like she was trying to calculate how much she believed her own excuse. Then she said, of course you should come. Sweetheart, I'd love to see you. You know what I did next? I booked a flight. First class, bought her a vintage emerald brooch and a weekend spa retreat package. I spent over $3,000 just trying to say, hey, I still care, I'm still here. I told myself this time would be different. Fast forward to this weekend, I landed in Austin Friday afternoon, got a rental car, stayed at a hotel downtown because no way in hell was I sleeping under the same roof as people who thought I was a corporate ghost. Woke up Saturday, got dressed, navy jumpsuit, hair curled just right, the brooch wrapped in velvet, took a deep breath in the mirror and said, Happy birthday, Mom, let's try this again. And then, you're not on the list. That's what Dad said. That's what knocked the wind out of me. Not a slap, not a scream, just a clipboard and a sentence. You ever had a moment so public and humiliating it turns into slow motion? That was me. Standing outside, people glancing over their champagne glasses, whispering, Sadie watching like she just won something. I felt my whole life boil down to one ridiculous metaphor, a guest list I wasn't on, not because I forgot, because they erased me. And just when I was about to walk away, someone tapped on my shoulder. Hey, Avery. It was Beau, Sadie's fiancé. Sweaty, nervous, and definitely not expecting to be the guy to deliver a plot twist. I turned around, honestly expecting some distant cousin or random caterer. But nope, it was Beau, Sadie's fiancé, aka the guy who just watched his future in-laws humiliate me like I was a wedding crasher. He looked awkward, too tall for the suit, tie crooked, his hands were half in his pockets, like he wanted to help but wasn't sure if he was allowed. I didn't know you were coming, he said. I narrowed my eyes. Clearly. No, I mean, I didn't know you weren't on the list. I thought you were invited. I raised an eyebrow. You live with Sadie? You really didn't think it was weird I never RSVP'd? He winced. I thought maybe there was, still tension after Thanksgiving. Oh, after Thanksgiving, we're just calling the full-on emotional exorcism a little tension now. Cute. I didn't respond, just stood there, holding the gift box like it was made of bricks. Then Beau surprised me. He glanced toward the door where Dad and Sadie were now laughing with some aunt who'd ignored me since I got bangs in 8th grade and leaned in slightly. Can I talk to you away from them? I blinked. Why? He ran a hand through his hair. Because I think you need to know something, and I don't know who else is going to say it. Look, I had zero reason to trust this guy. He was engaged to the sister who just publicly erased me and dating her through all the years she iced me out. But maybe that's why I followed him. We walked around to the side of the building, near a dusty little rose garden where someone had half-acidly hung string lights. It was quiet. No one around. He turned to face me. So, full disclosure, he started, I work at Phoenix AI. I blinked. The Boston office. Yeah, software engineering team, 3rd floor, joined like 8 months ago. My brain short-circuited for a second. Wait, This guy works at my company. You've got to be kidding me. I said, nope, he said, grimacing. And, small world, I know. I recognized you from the org chart on day one. I stared at him, and Sadie doesn't know. He shook his head. I told her I work at Phoenix, but I never mentioned who I work under. Didn't think it'd be safe, honestly. Safe, I repeated, crossing my arms. He exhaled. Okay, listen, Sadie's got this version of you in her head. That you're cold, selfish, fake deep because you go to therapy. That you don't care about anyone but your image. And the thing is, I kinda believed it at first. He said it so plainly I almost flinched. But then I started seeing you at work, the way people respect you, the way you run strategy meetings like a ninja but never make anyone feel stupid, the way my team talks about your leadership like you're Steve Jobs if he actually had empathy. I blinked, startled. He kept going. So, yeah, I started realizing the story I'd been fed doesn't match the person I saw every day in the office. And today, watching that scene at the front door, he shook his head. That was ** caught up. Yeah, no **. I looked down, jaw tight. So why didn't you say something? I didn't know if it was my place, but now, after watching your own dad tell you you're not welcome, he paused. I figured if I stayed quiet, I was just part of the problem. I didn't say anything, mostly because I couldn't trust my voice. He pulled something out of his coat pocket, a folded paper. Your name was on the original list. He said, I know, because I helped Mom Caroline proof it a month ago when Sadie asked me to print name cards. You were there. Then a week later, it was gone. I opened the paper. It was the guest list. There I was, Avery Blake, Boston. He was right. Sadie erased me on purpose. My stomach dropped. Caroline doesn't know, Bo said gently. She really thought you couldn't come. She told Sadie she missed you. Sadie told her you sent your regrets and were too busy. Too busy. The same excuse they've always used to explain me away. Not estranged, not hurt, just too busy, like I'm some calendar glitch. I felt my hands start to shake. And then Bo said the thing that knocked the air out of me. She's not doing so great. Caroline, her memory's been slipping. I looked up sharply. What? She's not sick, like dementia level, but the last few months, she's had some episodes, losing track of time, forgetting things. She started writing everything down. Sadie took over most of her schedule and medications. I felt a sudden, cold wave rush over me. So Sadie's been gatekeeping, I said flatly. He nodded. She's not the same with me either, Bo added. I've noticed she spins little things who said what, when, why, and makes herself the victim or the hero. But with Caroline, it's different. She treats her like a pawn. And I think you've been the easiest piece to remove. I didn't realize I was crying until I tasted salt on my lip. Why are you telling me all this? I asked, my voice low. He hesitated, because I think it's gone too far, and because Caroline deserves the truth, and maybe you do too. I swallowed, hard. So what now? He looked back at the venue. She'd want to see you, but there's no way Sadie or your dad are gonna let you walk in through the front. I can sneak you through the side if you're up for it. Was I up for it? Not really. But was I going to let these people rewrite my story, twist the narrative, and rob my mother of her daughter's presence on her own damn birthday? **CK no. Let's go, I said. He smiled a little. Thought you'd say that. We walked around the side entrance, past a sleepy-looking kitchen intern who didn't question anything, entered through a back hallway that smelled like lemon-scented disinfectant and wedding cake. And then we stepped into the party. It was beautiful. Glass chandeliers, rustic wood beams, everyone dressed like they were auditioning for a Texas lifestyle magazine. And there, in the middle of it all, was Mom. Caroline Blake, lavender dress, silver hair pinned back, laughing at something Nolan was saying. She looked up and spotted me. I'll never forget her face. Surprise, then confusion, then relief, like I'd just come home from war. Avery, she said, standing. And in that moment, I didn't care who was watching. I walked straight to her, wrapped her in a hug, and whispered, "Happy birthday, Mom." She held on to me like she was afraid I'd disappear again. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Sadie approaching, fast, eyes narrowed, like a missile in high heels. Bo stepped forward before she could speak. "Hi, everyone," he said, loud and clear. "Just wanted to introduce someone real quick. This is Avery Blake, Caroline's daughter, and my boss at Phoenix AI Labs." You could hear a F* kicking pin drop for like 3 full seconds. Nobody said a word. Even the guy cutting the cake froze, knife in midair like we'd just paused time. Then I heard a chair scrape. My dad. He stood up slowly like some aging mafia boss being disrespected in his own casino. His face was stone, not anger. Worse, that cold, sharp disappointment look he always gave me growing up, the kind that said you don't belong here. "I told you," he said, voice flat, eyes locked on me. "You weren't invited." Beside me, Mom's head snapped toward him. "What?" she asked, voice rising. "What are you talking about?" He didn't answer, just looked at Sadie like, "This is your mess now." Sadie stepped forward, her face doing that fake concern thing where her brows furrow just enough to look sympathetic, but her mouth is still tight with control. "Avery," she said, "this isn't the time." "Yeah, I know," I snapped. It was supposed to be earlier, but I got stopped at the F* kicking door. "Avery," Mom whispered, still looking between us like she'd walked into someone else's family drama. "Mom," I said, keeping my voice steady, "did you want me here today?" She looked stunned. "Of course I did. I told Sadie you should come. She said you were busy." Bo exhaled so loud I thought he was going to pass out. Everyone heard it. "I have the original guest list," he said, pulling the folded paper from his coat. Avery's name was on it. I remember because I printed the place cards. Sadie's face lost about 80% of its blood. "Stop," she said through clenched teeth. "Bo, not now." "No," I said, stepping forward. "Now, Sadie. Exactly now. Because I'm done watching you rewrite everything like it's your F* kicking diary and we're all just NPCs. "Don't do this here," she hissed, trying to grab my arm. I pulled away. "Where do we do this then? The next time you get me erased from someone else's milestone, my funeral." A few people in the room gasped, some fake, some real. "Okay," Mom said sharply, cutting through the tension. "Enough." She looked at Sadie. "Did you really tell me Avery didn't want to come?" Sadie swallowed. I thought she was too busy." "No? Did she say that? Or did you assume it?" Silence. And that, right there, was the moment. The unraveling. Because Sadie can lie under pressure. She's practiced, but not with Mom. Not when Mom's voice drops into that soft but lethal disappointment tone. She never said she wouldn't come. Sadie finally muttered, She told me she would. Mom replied, eyes full of betrayal. I remember that phone call. I could almost see the room shift around her, like everyone collectively realized they'd been watching the wrong movie, backing the wrong character. Aunt Tricia whispered something to Uncle Mike. Cousin Danny gave me a look like she'd just connected about 10 years of weirdness in one moment. Sadie looked at Bo, then at me. And that mask she always wore, the polished daughter, the selfless one, the caretaker. Cracked. This is bullsh***, she said, her voice shaking now. I've been here every week. I drive her to appointments. I manage the meds. I handle Dad's moods. I'm the one who stayed. No one's denying that, I said, quieter now, but staying doesn't give you a monopoly on love. Sadie's eyes glistened, but it wasn't sadness, it was rage. You think just because you fly in with your big city career and your expensive dress and your F***kicking LinkedIn trophies, you get to be the good daughter again. I never said I was the good anything. I shot back. I just wanted to be treated like I existed, like I mattered, like I was family. Silence again. Then Dad, of all people, cleared his throat. She said some pretty harsh things at Thanksgiving. Oh my God. You're still on that, I said, almost laughing. I defended myself because Sadie came at me for existing outside your little insurance empire. That's not an attack. That's called boundaries. Mom spoke up again. What did she say at Thanksgiving? Robert, tell me, word for word. He didn't answer. Because he couldn't. Because all the actual quotes would make me sound sane and them sound controlling. Sadie's been filtering everything, Bo said now, stepping into the awkward tension. She controls Caroline's appointments, her calendar, even who she talks to. She told me Avery was too unstable to come to the party. You said that, Mom asked, turning to her. Sadie didn't answer. She was visibly shaking now. I was trying to protect you, she finally said, voice small. You don't remember things sometimes. I didn't want you confused. I'm not confused right now, Mom replied, ice in her voice, and I don't need protection from my own daughter. That landed like a slap. Sadie stood still, lips pressed together, mascara smudging at the corners, no more words. Dad looked down, jaw clenched, like the air had been sucked out of him. And me. I just stood there, exhausted. Like I'd carried this weight for years and finally dropped it, but now I had to stare at the bruise it left behind. Then Mom turned to me. Come, she said, sit by me. Like it was nothing, like I hadn't just been publicly disowned at the door, and that was when I almost cried, but I held it together, barely. I sat beside her. She held my hand, squeezing it like she used to when I was a kid afraid of thunderstorms. Would you like a slice of cake, she asked, casual as hell. I'd love one, I whispered. Around us, people started talking again, kind of. The room was still weird, but the tension had lifted just enough for someone to start the music back up. I looked over at Bo. He gave me a little nod. And then Sadie. She turned and walked out. No goodbye, no last word, just vanished, heels echoing on the floor like gunshots. I stayed another 2 hours. We took photos. Caroline made a little speech about forgiveness and clarity that made half the room cry and the other half pretend they weren't. Even Dad managed to come sit with us at the end. Didn't say much, but he offered me a drink, which, in our family, is basically an apology. Later, when I went to leave, Mom followed me out to the curb. You changed your flight yet? She asked. I blinked. How'd you know I booked it last minute? She smiled. Because I know you, and I know when something matters to you, you go all in. I didn't know what to say to that. Then she pulled something from her purse, a velvet box. I was going to give this to Sadie, she said, but now I think maybe it should have always been yours. I opened it. A brooch, emerald, vintage, just like the one she used to show me in Grandma's jewelry box before it got lost in the move. How did you... I found it again last year, got it restored. I remembered you always loved it. Tears, again, Jesus, I was leaking like a broken faucet this weekend. Thank you, I said, voice cracking. No, she replied. Thank you for coming back. Then she leaned in, kissed my cheek, and whispered, next year, you plan my party. I laughed. Shaky. Deal. The next morning, I woke up in my hotel room with a headache that wasn't from drinking. It was like my brain had run a marathon in heels and forgot to hydrate. I laid there, staring at the ceiling fan, wondering what the hell had just happened over the last 24 hours. I'd been iced out by my dad, ambushed by my sister, gaslit, uninvited, re-invited, and then somehow ended the night with cake and jewelry like it was some Cinderella redemption arc. Except the fairy godmother had memory issues, and the stepsister was still out there somewhere, probably rage texting. Sure enough, when I checked my phone, I had 5 missed calls from Sadie. No voicemails, just calls, all between midnight and 2:17 a.m. Classic. I didn't call back. Instead, I opened my email. Something about work always centers me. It's the only world I've ever felt like I had full control over, at least more than my family crap. Sure enough, there was an email from Bo. Subject: I'm sorry and thank you. Hey Avery, I just wanted to say I'm sorry for my part in all of that. I should have spoken up sooner. What they did to you wasn't right, and I hope you know some of us saw through it. If you need anything logistics, family fallout, emotional support, you've got an ally here. Also, your mom looked so happy last night. I think something shifted. Bo. I stared at the screen for a solid minute. This guy, my sister's fiancé, the one who stood by while she erased me for years, and now he was defecting. I wasn't sure if I trusted it yet, but still, it felt good. Someone had seen it, the whole thing, not just the event, but the pattern. I replied, Thanks for saying something. I know that wasn't easy, especially with Sadie. I'm not out to destroy her. I just want my damn name back. Appreciate you being decent in a really messed up situation. No emoji, no signature, just real talk. And that became my policy for the next few weeks. Say less, move smarter. When I got back to Boston, I didn't talk about the party at first. Rachel, my assistant, tried. She gave me a wide-eyed, so how was the bloodbath kind of look when I walked in Monday morning? But I just told her it's done. I'm tired. Let's talk vendor contracts instead. She nodded like, fair enough, and we got to work. But emotionally, I was still chewing on it. Like, how much of my life had I shaped around not becoming my sister? And in doing that, had I let her win by default? Had I given her the keys to my own family while I was too busy building everything else? I didn't regret the career. Hell no, I love what I do. I've built something real. But I'd handed over the emotional ground game to someone who only ever played to win, not to connect. That was on me. So I started changing that quietly. I called my mom every week. At first, they were short, awkward. She'd forget details. I had to remind her what day it was sometimes, but she always picked up, and slowly, she started asking questions again. Real ones. How's that team you're leading? Are you still doing that late-night yoga? Did you ever replace that coffee table you hated? Like she was rebuilding a mental file on me, piece by piece. And the weirdest part? I started doing the same for her. I learned the names of her neighbors, the nurse who comes by once a week, the woman from church who brings casseroles, the physical therapist she hates but is very efficient. I even sent her a heated blanket I found on some influencer's Amazon list. She called me crying. You remembered I'm always cold? I wanted to scream, of course I remember. I've just been locked out. Then came the text from Nolan. Little brother, ghosted me for 2 years, practically. Nolan. Yo, Sadie's losing her mind. What the hell happened at Mom's party? No hi, no preamble, just that. I stared at the screen, half amused, half furious. This man hadn't so much as liked a single photo of mine in years, but now he wanted the tea because our sister's narrative was falling apart. I thought about ignoring him, but then I figured, no, let him have it. Me. Long story short, she tried to erase me from the guest list. Mom found out, and the room watched her implode in real time. Nolan. Damn, she said you showed up drunk and made a scene. Of course she did. Me. She's lying. Again. Ask Bo. He was there. Or, I don't know, maybe ask Mom directly, like a grown-up. I hit send. No hearts, no smiley faces, just the truth. He didn't reply for 2 hours. And when he did, it was simple. Nolan. Okay, I believe you. That was it, but it meant something. About a week later, I got the real kicker. An email from Phoenix AI's Chief People Officer. Hi Avery, just wanted to confirm Jesse Lawson submitted a transfer request to the Singapore team. Since he's within your org chart, we need your input to process. Can you confirm you're okay with this move? Jesse. Sadie's fiancé, the guy who stood beside me that night at the party. The guy who, now that I thought about it, hadn't been mentioned in any of Sadie's post-party meltdown group chats. I scheduled a 1-1 with him that afternoon. He walked into my office looking 10 pounds lighter, like the truth had detoxed his entire bloodstream. Hey, he said, thanks for taking the meeting. I gestured to the seat across from me. So, Singapore. He laughed. Not just for distance, I actually requested it 6 months ago. It just got approved now. So, timing's weird. Sadie, no, I asked. He hesitated. Yeah, she said if I respected her, I'd decline it. And he shrugged. I told her I needed to respect myself first. Whew. I leaned back in my chair. You okay? He paused. Honestly, I think so. I didn't realize how much of her version of things I'd internalized. And seeing your side changed things. I nodded. Well, thanks for having a spine when it counted. He smiled. It's your fault. Really. You lead like that. Made it hard to pretend I didn't know better. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of everything unspoken hanging in the air. Then I signed the transfer papers. Good luck in Singapore, I said, and hey, if you ever want to work your way back, let me know. That night, I opened a new note on my phone and titled it, My Version of Events. Not for revenge, not for drama, but because for the first time in years, I wanted to write the truth down. All of it, while I still remembered how it felt. Because Sadie had written her version for a decade, and now it was my turn. 3 weeks later, I was walking back from yoga, yes, the one class I still squeeze in even when everything's on fire when my phone buzzed. Mom Caroline? Do you think I could come visit you in Boston next month? Just me, no fanfare, just us. I stopped walking, literally froze on the sidewalk. You know that moment when your body reacts before your brain catches up? Like full chill up the spine, heart skipping a beat, eyes stinging for no damn reason. Yeah, that. Because in 15 years, my mother had never once asked to visit me. Not after I got promoted. Not when I moved into my own place. Not when I had surgery and texted her photos of my wrist in a cast like, "Look what I did." But now, she was asking. I texted back instantly. "I'd love that. I'll send you flights tonight." No hesitation, no games, just yes. And I swear, when I hit send, I felt something shift inside me, like a wire that had been coiled so tightly for so long, finally unspooled a little. I booked her a direct flight, first class. I didn't care about the cost. I'd drop money on a pitch deck review or some overpriced restaurant with clients. Why not on something that actually mattered? When I picked her up at Logan, she looked smaller than I remembered. Not frail, exactly, just softer, but her eyes were bright, clear, present in a way that told me she was having more good days than bad lately. "Boston," she said, practically bouncing on her toes. "You live in a postcard." I smiled. "Wait until you see the inside." Over the next 4 days, we did all the things I used to wish she'd asked about. I showed her my apartment, the view of the Charles River, the weird abstract art I found at a secondhand gallery, the coffee table she claimed was very modern in a good way. We ate pastries from my favorite bakery. We walked through the common and sat on a bench for hours just talking. No Brooke, no Dad, no weird comments about too much work or when are you settling down. Just us. And somewhere in the middle of that trip, while she was pouring tea into these tiny mismatched cups I keep for no reason, she said, "You know, I always wanted to see your world. I just didn't think you'd want me in it." I blinked. What, why? Because I listened too much to one child and not enough to the other. She didn't say Sadie's name. She didn't have to. I didn't push. I just let it hang there. That night, we watched a documentary on women CEOs, and halfway through, she pointed at the screen and said, "That's how I picture you. Strong but kind." Reader, I nearly sobbed into my throw pillow. After she left, we started texting almost daily. Nothing deep. Just, "Saw this and thought of you. Trying that recipe you sent. It's edible. What does AI even do again?" It wasn't perfect. Sometimes she'd repeat herself or forget a detail, but it was hers, and that meant more to me than anything. Meanwhile, things back in Austin. Well, let's just say Sadie wasn't thriving. I'd heard from Nolan who, by the way, now texted me semi-regularly in his own awkward bro who never learned feelings way that she'd canceled her engagement. Apparently, she and Bo had a breakdown in values, which I'm guessing is rich people PR for. He called her out and she panicked. I wasn't smug about it. Okay, a little. But I was curious when Bo emailed me again. "Hey, I didn't want you to hear this from someone else. Sadie and I called it off. There's a lot I wish I'd done differently, but I'm grateful for how honest you were. If you ever want to grab coffee when I'm in Boston, let me know. No agenda." I never replied, not because I was mad, just I'd closed that tab already. Work was a different story. Ever since that confrontation at the party, I'd been on another level. I was sharper, clearer, less performative in meetings, more decisive. I stopped sugarcoating and started leading the way. I actually think. And people noticed. My boss, Alan, pulled me aside after a meeting where I shut down an idea that would have cost us 6 figures in wasted dev time. "You're different," he said. "How so?" I asked, halfway through my second espresso. "Centered, like you stopped asking for permission." And he wasn't wrong. Somewhere between being erased from my own family and reclaiming my seat at the damn table, I'd stopped playing nice. Not cruel, not cold, just clear. One night, as I was updating our team roadmap, I got an email that made my stomach flip. Subject: VP Global Ops interview request. Yeah, that VP role. The one I'd written off as too political, too visibility heavy, too not for me. Turns out, someone had nominated me. Probably Alan, maybe Diane, hell, maybe Rachel. The email ended with, "We're looking for someone with proven strategy and the ability to hold tough conversations with clarity and integrity. We think that might be you." I read that line 4 times. Then I opened a blank doc and started writing down examples. But instead of just pulling from quarterly goals and deliverables, I included that night at the party. Not the soap opera parts, just the bones. Standing up for truth when it would have been easier to stay quiet. Navigating broken communication with respect but firmness. Refusing to let someone else tell your story. Because honestly, that's the best damn leadership case study I've ever lived through. Mom called later that week. It was a Friday. I was finishing emails and about to dive into leftovers. She said, "I got something in the mail today. From you." "Should have arrived yesterday," I said, grinning. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "This brooch. It looks like the one Grandma used to wear." "I remembered you said that once," I said softly, "when I was 10. And then we just sat there, phone pressed to our ears, not crying, but close. I didn't tell Sadie about the promotion interview. I didn't tell anyone in Austin. Really. Not out of spite. Just not their story to hold anymore. And for the first time in a long, long time, I felt free. Last month, I got the call. "Hi, Morgan. Stephanie, our CEO, sounded way too calm for someone about to upend my entire professional life. We're officially offering you the VP of Global Ops role." I didn't speak for like 5 seconds, just sat there blinking at my computer screen like it was a prank. "You still there?" she asked, laughing. "Yeah, wow, yes, absolutely, yes." She paused. "You earned this. Not just because of performance metrics, it's how you carry yourself when things get hard. That story you told in the interview, that wasn't about family. That was leadership under pressure." I logged off, shut my laptop, and just sat there. Not smiling, not crying. Just breathing. This whole damn time, I'd been told I was too much too driven, too distant, too cold, too professional, too single, too not Sadie. And now here I was, being told I was exactly enough, that doing things my own way wasn't a flaw, it was the ing reason I got here. Talk about full circle. That weekend, I hosted Thanksgiving. Yeah, me, the daughter who supposedly abandoned her family, the one not on the list. I cooked, I ordered sides, I even bought stupid turkey-themed paper napkins. Don't judge. Mom flew in again solo. Dad came too, which shocked me, but in a weird way, I respected it. He was awkward as hell, but he was trying. Tyler brought his girlfriend, a barista turned grad student named Jess who actually laughed at Dad's dry jokes and called me the cool sister. For once, I didn't correct her. The apartment was warm, chaotic, and completely real. Nobody played roles. Nobody made backhanded comments about Boston or jobs or fertility timelines. Sadie didn't come. No invite was sent, but she did send a gift, a giant, curated basket of overpriced vegan snacks with a note that said, "Hope dinner goes well. Maybe next year. Sadie." And honestly, that was enough. A start, a crack in the wall she'd built between us. Maybe therapy was working. Maybe she was just tired. Either way, I didn't need an apology right now. I needed space, and silence from her that was actually peaceful. Later that night, as we stacked plates and picked at pie crusts, Mom pulled me aside. "I've been thinking," she said, "about family therapy, all of us, no big agenda, just healing." My knee-jerk reaction was to laugh, like, therapy, them. But then I saw how serious she was, how steady. I said, "I'll fly to Austin, just say when." That was the thing about boundaries I didn't understand back when I was younger. I thought boundaries meant cutting people off, but they're not walls, they're guardrails. They let you stay connected without getting wrecked. And this time, I was showing up as an adult, not the cropped-out middle child, not the angry Thanksgiving escape artist, just me. Whole, centered, ready? We had our first session last week, online, of course. Dad sat stiffly in a beige chair. Sadie had her mic muted for most of it. Mom did most of the talking. But when the therapist asked what everyone wanted out of the process, I said this: "I don't expect us to become some Instagram perfect family. I just don't want to feel like I have to choose between peace and connection anymore." Sadie actually nodded, muted, but still. That tiny gesture, that was a ****ing miracle. At work, I was in a flow state. New role, global team, bigger stakes. And yet, I wasn't tired. I was energized. I said no faster. I delegated like a champ. I coached junior managers with empathy instead of pretending to be perfect. Rachel pulled me aside one afternoon and said, "Okay, who are you and what have you done with our stress goblin boss?" I laughed. Therapy, trauma, and Thanksgiving, in that order. She grinned. "Can I steal that for a tattoo?" One afternoon, while flying back from Singapore, I had a layover at O'Hare. Instead of hiding in the business lounge like I used to, I texted Mom. 3 hours free. Want to meet at the airport Starbucks. She texted back in 10 seconds. I'm already in the parking lot. We sat for an hour, talked about everything and nothing. She asked me to explain blockchain again, but without jargon, and I tried, failed, mostly, but we laughed anyway. Before I left, she reached into her bag and pulled out a photo. Me, age 12, standing in front of my solar system model, third place ribbon, beaming like I'd won a Nobel. "I found this," she said, "thought you'd want it back." I took it carefully, like it might disappear if I blinked. "You kept this all these years." "Of course," she said, "that was the day I knew you were going to change the world." I swallowed hard, even if I didn't stay. "Especially because you left," she said, "you had the guts to build something alone. I was just too scared to see it." I hugged her, in the middle of a ********ing airport Starbucks, IDA. People stared. I didn't care. So yeah, that's the story. Of how I went from being not on the list to rewriting the damn guest list entirely. From the daughter who was erased to the woman who wrote her name in bold. And no, it wasn't some explosive revenge plot where I burned everything down and laughed at the ashes. It was slower, messier, more real. I told the truth. I held the line. I chose myself without hating anyone else. That's the revenge they don't teach you in movies. The kind where you don't win by getting even, you win by becoming undeniably you. So if you're reading this and you've ever been the outsider, the scapegoat, the one who dared to leave and live differently, I see you. You're not selfish. You're not broken. You're just brave. And someday, when the people who tried to write you off finally read your story, make sure it's your story. In your words, on your terms. With your name front and center. Because damn it, you were never invisible. You were just ahead of your time. Story 2. You ever look at someone you love and just not recognize them anymore? That was me 3 weeks ago, standing in my bakery, watching my mom and stepdad tell me dead serious that the business I spent 10 years building rightfully belongs to my little brother. Like I was just keeping it warm for him. Anyway, hey, thanks for being here. Before we dive in, hit the comments and tell me where you're listening from. This one's a ride. Let's get into it. So, I'm Harper, I just turned 31, and last month I opened Oven Light & Company, my bakery tucked in a cozy corner of Bellingham, Washington, the kind of spot where you walk in and it smells like butter, burnt sugar, and comfort. My whole damn heart is in that place. What most people don't know, this bakery was built off blood, blistered fingers, and a decade of being ignored. At 15, I was sneaking into the back of an all-night diner after school, bussing tables, then biking home to mess around with baking from old cookbooks I borrowed from the library and never returned. It was therapy. It was escape. My house wasn't abusive. Exactly. It just didn't feel like mine. Like I was a long-term guest in a family hotel where my room didn't lock and nobody cared what I dreamed about. I worked 2 jobs through culinary school, slept maybe 4 hours a night, ate so many instant noodles I could flavor them blindfolded, and I saved every single penny, $87.430 to be exact. That's what I sank into Oven Light & Company. Not a dime from my parents, not a dollar from a trust fund. Meanwhile, my younger brother Ellis, who's 26 now, he was the golden boy. Full ride to NYU funded by my stepdad's generous wallet, a semester abroad in Milan for inspiration, and a freaking Audi for his 22nd birthday. Me, I got a box of protein bars and a card that said "Stay strong." It's always been like that. He shines, I grind. I told myself it didn't matter, that if I worked hard enough, one day they'd look at me and say, "Damn, Harper really did it." Spoiler, they never did. But still I made it. I made something. I carved this space out of nothing and painted the walls myself. Every loaf of sourdough, every box of blueberry lavender muffins, it's mine. And I was finally proud. Until the day the call came in. It was a Tuesday, around 3 p.m. The lunch rush had just died down. I had flour on my face and was testing a lemon thyme scone recipe when my phone buzzed. It was my mom. "We need to talk. It's about the bakery." My gut tightened. She didn't waste time. Said Ellis had been going through a hard time since getting laid off from a very competitive branding agency. And, well, maybe it was time I thought about passing the torch. Passing the torch. I laughed. I actually laughed. Thought it was a joke. It wasn't. My stepdad got on the phone and hit me with the line that still echoes in my head. "Ellis is meant to be the face of something. You're the worker, but he's the visionary." I felt something inside me snap. I told them no. Hell no. I reminded them I paid for every grain of flour in that place, that I bled for this, that Ellis had never worked a double shift or cleaned grease traps or dealt with pre-dawn deliveries. They didn't care. My mom got quiet, then said something that chilled me more than anything else. You owe us, Harper. You wouldn't have made it without our support. I wanted to scream. What support? The used laptop I bought with my tip money. The gifts they now claim were investments. That call ended with my voice shaking, my hand gripping a mixing bowl like it was the only thing holding me up, and I thought that would be the worst of it. It wasn't. 4 days later, I was at the register, chatting with a regular, when a man in a navy windbreaker walked in and handed me an envelope. A lawsuit. They were suing me. Suing me? My mom and stepdad, along with Ellis, had filed a petition to reassign ownership of Ovenlight & Co. to the rightful beneficiary. Their argument that I'd used family resources and influence to build my business, and that Ellis, now being without gainful employment, deserved the chance to inherit and restore the family's entrepreneurial legacy. What freaking legacy? I read the list of family contributions in the claim and wanted to throw up. $12 for a baking sheet they bought me in 2011, $20 for gas money they gave me one time, a $40 grocery card from 5 years ago. They called them foundational investments. WTF. And then it got worse. They wanted me to train Ellis for 6 months, and during that time, I'd still be responsible for the business loan. I'd basically be working under him, in the bakery I built, while he transitioned into ownership. I felt like I was hallucinating. I didn't sleep for days, just paced my apartment, cried in the shower, stared at my bank app and calculated legal fees. I couldn't afford a lawyer. Every dollar had gone into mixers, insurance, and the second-hand espresso machine I was still paying off. I thought about giving up, about walking away, letting them win. But then I stepped back into Ovenlight that Monday morning, and the scent, warm yeast, cinnamon, sugar hit me like a memory of every single time I almost quit and didn't. So I made a decision. If they wanted a war, they were gonna get one. Even if I had to fight it alone, I didn't sleep that night. Or the one after that. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ellis standing behind the counter of my bakery, wearing some dumb apron with his name stitched on it, like he'd earned it, like my years of grind didn't matter. I wanted to scream. Instead, I poured coffee, burned through 5 legal blogs, and built a binder. The evidence, my financials, savings records, loan paperwork, proof that Ovenlight & Co. wasn't handed to me. I clawed it into existence. But let's be real, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. No lawyer, no team, just a worn-out girl who bakes muffins like she's solving equations. Ellis, though he had Uncle Marty. Let me introduce Marty, my stepdad's older brother, real estate broker, big on Twitter, owns a Tesla he never stops talking about, and apparently, he fronted the lawyer for this lawsuit. A lawyer with a whole-ass website, testimonials, and a buttoned-up headshot where he looks like he sues people for sport. And here I was, Googling how to present evidence in small claims court at 3 a.m. with a piece of toast in one hand and tears in the other. I'd never felt smaller. Things got worse when my mom posted a Facebook status. You know the type, passive-aggressive, dripping in guilt-tripping gold. Heartbroken that our own child would turn her back on family. All we wanted was fairness for Ellis, who's struggling so much right now. We've supported her for years. We only asked for what we helped build. Please pray for our family. And it blew up. Relatives I hadn't seen since high school left comments. Ellis is a good kid. Wow, I didn't realize Harper was so ungrateful. After everything they did for her, I wanted to vomit. And guess who jumped in with his own post? Ellis. A selfie in front of Ovenlight and Company. The caption, "Ready to restore what should have been mine all along. Blood matters more than ego." I swear, I've never seen someone so confidently delusional. And the worst part, the bakery's account started getting DMs. Some polite, others straight up vile. You should be ashamed. Why not just share it? Family first, always. That one stung, because I used to believe that too. Until family tried to sue me into training my replacement and hand him my keys. But the tide turned a little, a crack of light in the tunnel. It started with a review. A 5-star post from one of my regulars, Sasha. The best scones in Bellingham and the kindest heart behind the counter. Harper built this place on sweat and sacrifice. Don't let gossip erase that. It got shared. Then more reviews trickled in. Locals defending me, customers posting pictures of their favorite pastries, tagging #TeamOvenlight. And then Lena messaged me. My cousin. She's Ellis's age, but nothing like him. She'd always been quiet at family parties, just observing. I never knew where she stood until she sent this. I'm on your side. They've babied Ellis forever. It's gross. Also, I remember when they skipped my graduation to go to his pop-up in Brooklyn. I never forgot that. It hit me. I wasn't as alone as I thought. Back in the bakery, I was barely functioning. I'd stay up researching case law, then wake up at 5 to prep pastries. My eyes were purple smudges. My hands ached from kneading, but I kept going. The smell of cinnamon rolls baking, the early morning light pouring through the front window, it grounded me, reminded me why I was fighting. And then the final straw landed. I got a settlement offer. They wanted me to transfer full ownership of Ovenlight & Co. to Ellis within 60 days, and in exchange, I'd get a stipend. A stipend. From my own business. Plus 6 months of consulting to train him. Oh, and I'd be required to vacate the premises after the transition. I laughed. Out loud, alone in my apartment, I couldn't stop. It was either laugh or cry, and I'd done enough crying to fill Lake Washington. So I sent a reply. 3 words. See you in court. The hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks out. And suddenly, everything felt real. I printed copies of everything, every receipt, every email from culinary school, the one where I asked my mom if they could help with my last semester, and she replied, "We're focused on Ellis's launch right now, maybe next year." I highlighted that one. Ellis's GoFundMe popped up around then. Yep. The man who wanted to take my bakery started a fundraiser called Help Me Reclaim What's Rightfully Mine. Said the media narrative was hurting his artistic journey, claimed I was hiding the truth about how Ovenlight was built on family effort. I wanted to throw my laptop, but I didn't have to. Because the community shut it down. People flagged it. Customers posted side-by-side photos of me at 17 working at Joe's Diner and Ellis at the same age on a ski trip in Aspen. The GoFundMe got removed for misrepresentation, just like that. But the courtroom, that was still ahead. And I was terrified. Not because I doubted the facts, But because this was my family, and deep down, some part of me still wanted to believe they'd walk in, drop the suit, and say they were sorry, that it got out of hand, that they saw me now. They didn't. The night before court, my grandma called. We hadn't talked since this all began. I almost didn't pick up, but something told me to. Her voice was small. Harper, I hate what's happening. I love you. I want you to know that. I bit my lip. Then why haven't you said anything? Silence. Because I didn't want to make it worse, but I'm proud of you. No matter what happens, I want you to keep fighting. It wasn't everything, but it was something. I showed up at the courthouse the next morning in a black dress I'd had since college and the binder in my arms like it was armor. They were already there. Ellis in a blazer he clearly borrowed, my mom looking like she was attending a funeral, stepdad with that smug look I hated. I didn't look at them. I looked straight ahead. Because no matter what happened that day, I wasn't walking out of there small. This was my life. My legacy. And I was finally ready to defend it. I thought I'd be nervous. Turns out, I was furious. Standing in that courtroom, fluorescent lights buzzing above me like bees, I couldn't believe it had come to this. My own damn family, lined up like some twisted version of a PTA meeting, about to argue I didn't deserve the business I sacrificed my 20s for. Ellis looked smug. Of course he did. He had a folder tucked under his arm like he actually had something to present. My mom clutched tissues she didn't need yet, and my stepdad just stood there like he was ready to teach a class called How to Ruin Your Kid's Life 101. I sat in the defendant's seat with my binder, printed emails, receipts, photos of my first pop-up booth in a parking lot during a rainstorm. I even brought the original business plan with coffee stains on the corners. The judge walked in. Older woman, no-nonsense face. I liked her instantly. Court was in session. Their lawyer opened with the expected BS. Family investments, shared dreams, equitable redistribution. He used so many soft, clean words, it took me a minute to realize he was basically saying Harper owes them because they changed her diapers once. Then he trotted out Ellis, who, God help me, tried to cry. He talked about feeling left behind, how he always looked up to me, how I supposedly promised him someday we'd run something together. I almost snorted. I remember that conversation. We were kids, and he'd just eaten half a batch of raw cookie dough I was testing. Not exactly a binding contract. Then he said the thing that made the judge's pen freeze mid-scribble. I already pitched Oven Light to Bread and Bloom. It's a high-end bakery chain. They love the concept. They're just waiting for this to be over so we can finalize the franchise. Wait, what? That was my plan. I'd written that pitch last year. The idea to expand into smaller neighboring cities. I hadn't shown it to anyone, except once, during a family dinner, on my laptop. Oh my God. My breath caught. I raised my hand. The judge gave a small nod. Your Honor, that business proposal, it's mine. He stole it off my computer. Ellis turned to me, face flushed. His lawyer looked panicked, and I pulled out my trump card. A printed cloud log of every file access, including the day and time Ellis had borrowed my laptop to check email. He'd opened my files, downloaded them, never said a word. This pitch, I said, holding up the printout, is my work. He plagiarized it. He had no permission. Silence, Zay. Like drop-a-pin silence. Then the judge leaned forward. Mr. Roth, did you present your sister's business plan as your own? Ellis stammered, blinked, sweated. It was collaborative. No, I snapped. You didn't write a single word. He cracked. Started rambling about how we're family and what's mine is yours and we're supposed to share dreams. The judge didn't look moved, not even a little. She turned to their lawyer, who had turned pale. This calls the entire foundation of your claim into question. I sat back in my seat, heart thudding so loud it drowned out the rest of the legal jargon. All I could think was, he actually tried to sell my dream behind my back. An hour later, it was my turn. I stood up, hands shaking but voice clear. Your Honor, Ovenlight & Co. is my life's work. I funded it with my own savings, $87,430. I worked double shifts, sometimes triple. I paid rent late. I didn't ask anyone for a penny. My parents didn't support me. They prioritized Ellis over and over, and now that I've built something, they're trying to take it. I showed my receipts, loans, a photo of my hands on opening day burned and dusted with flour. Then I pulled out the email. The one where I asked my mom to help me pay for my final culinary semester. Her response was short. Ellis's Milan program is coming up. We don't have the extra funds. The judge read it slowly, then set it down. Thank you, Miss Roth. When I sat down, I realized I was crying. Quiet tears, relief, rage, everything all at once. The ruling came 30 minutes later. This case is dismissed due to lack of legal basis and clear evidence of intellectual property infringement. Additionally, I advise Ms. Roth to consider filing a separate claim if she wishes to pursue damages. Translation: I won. I'd like to say I felt triumphant, powerful, vindicated. But honestly, I felt wrecked. Because as we stood to leave, my mom wouldn't even look at me. My stepdad shook his head like I'd just murdered someone. Ellis muttered under his breath. You're not better than me, Harper. You'll never be. And I realized something in that moment. This wasn't just about the bakery. It never was. It was about control. About them being angry that I did something without them, that I made a life they weren't part of, that I didn't need them anymore. I walked out of that courthouse with my binder pressed to my chest like it was a shield. The sun hit my face. And for the first time in months, I let myself breathe. But don't think for a second that was the end. Because Ellis, he doesn't know when to quit. 2 nights later, I got a text from my security system. Motion detected bakery front window, 2:14 a.m. I opened the app. There they were. Ellis and Uncle Marty, hoodies up, crowbar in hand, walking toward my bakery like they were gonna smash their way in and destroy it. The motion lights snapped on, and they bolted like the cowards they are. I stared at the footage, hands ice cold. I wasn't just fighting to keep my business. I was fighting to protect it from my own family. I filed a police report the next morning. And now, I'm pressing charges. The news spread fast. Ellis tried to do damage control, posted a selfie with a bruised ego and a caption like, "Some people choose hate over healing." But the internet wasn't buying it anymore. Loyal customers posted screenshots of the court ruling. People started sharing my story, not the version my mom put on Facebook, the real one. Ovenlight & Co. got busier. People waited in line. Some came in just to say, "We're rooting for you." One woman slipped a $100 tip in the jar and whispered, "For every time someone told you family comes before dreams." I cried in the walk-in fridge for 10 minutes. Because it wasn't about money. It was about being seen. Finally. But the best surprise came in the form of a letter from my grandma. I opened it with shaky hands. Her handwriting was messier than I remembered. I should have spoken up. I should have told them they were wrong, but I didn't. "I'm sorry. You've always been stronger than any of us. Don't forget that." I sat on my kitchen floor for an hour, just holding that letter. Because sometimes an apology you never expected means more than all the apologies you begged for. So yeah. Court's over. The bakery is still mine. My family's in shambles. And Ellis, he'll probably keep trying to spin it, to make me the villain. But I'm done shrinking so they feel bigger. They tried to take what I built. And all they did was remind me I can survive anything. 6 months. That's how long it's been since I walked out of that courtroom. Binder in hand, face flushed from tears and exhaustion, bakery still mine. Feels like both yesterday and a lifetime ago. A lot has happened since then, some of it healing, some of it still hurts. But here's the truth, I've never been more free. Ovenlight & Co. is thriving. The local paper ran a piece on the Family Feud bakery scandal and dubbed me the girl who baked back. I hated the headline. Loved the support. We got swamped. Lines out the door. A couple drove from Olympia just for the sourdough with rosemary and sea salt. Some folks didn't even buy anything, they just hugged me. The old me would have cried. The new me still cries, but with less shame about it. I also got a cat. Saffron, a rescue. Ginger and loud and demanding. She sleeps on the windowsill in the shop and hisses at the espresso machine like it owes her money. The customers love her. People started tagging her on Instagram, #Saffron says no to thieves. It's ridiculous, but it makes me laugh. And after the hell I went through, I'll take every laugh I can get. I haven't heard from Ellis directly since the failed break-in. He was arrested, briefly, nothing major trespassing, attempted property damage. Uncle Marty bailed him out. Of course, some family ties never snap, they just rot quietly. Mom texted once. We should talk. I stared at it for 20 minutes, then hit block. I don't feel good about it, but I feel safe. And safety wins. My cousin Lena's been a rock. She started handling our bakery's marketing, turning every scandal into sass. She posted a reel of me frosting a cake with the caption, "Built, not stolen." It hit 400K views in 3 days. I didn't want to become content, but being heard, that's new for me, and kind of addicting. One afternoon, we sat in the back after closing, drinking hard cider and scrolling through comments. "You're a badass. Yee." Reminds me of what my own mom pulled when I started my shop. "Thank you for fighting. You don't even know me, but this gave me strength." That last one broke me. Because yeah, my family tried to wreck me, but by standing up, I helped someone else realize they don't have to take it either. And that's worth everything. Grandma comes by every Sunday now. She brings cookies. We bake together. Her hands shake more these days, but her smile is steady. There's a sadness in her eyes that wasn't there before. A regret. Maybe. I try not to ask. Some silences are better left untouched. One Sunday, she said it. I should have protected you more. And I said, you're here now. Because I can't afford to keep my heart locked down forever. I'm still working on forgiving myself. For ignoring Ellis's texts when he first lost his job, for lashing out at Grandma, for not seeing the signs sooner. But here's the thing, no one tells you. You can be strong and still mess up. You can fight like hell and still cry in the shower. You can love people and still decide they're not safe for you anymore. That's not weakness. That's growth. I finally hired a lawyer, not for the lawsuit that's done, but to draft documents, protect Oven Light, lock everything down. My name is on every lease, account, and trademark now. Ellis won't be stealing anything again unless he wants another court date. It feels good, quietly powerful, like slipping on armor you didn't realize you needed. The civil suit I filed for IP theft is still crawling through the system. I'm not expecting a windfall. I just want it on record. You don't get to take from me and walk away whistling. My lawyer said it could drag for months, maybe years. That's fine, I've got time. And muffins. I started offering baking classes on Saturdays. Mostly kids, some teens, a few adults who want to master sourdough or finally learn how to fold croissant dough without sobbing. Teaching's weird. It's vulnerable, opening up the space I fought so hard for, but seeing someone light up after making something from scratch, that glow. It's everything. And maybe that's the final twist in all this. They tried to steal my future, but they made me realize how much more I want to build. Last week, someone asked if I'd consider expanding. I laughed. Loud and messy and full of disbelief. Then I said, maybe, but on my terms. Bread and Bloom even reached out. Yep, the same chain Ellis tried to pitch my plan to. Their regional rep emailed asking if we'd ever consider franchising. I didn't respond. Not yet. Maybe one day, but only if the offer starts with an apology and ends with me in control. Ellis still posts vague crap online. Quotes about loyalty and betrayal paired with gym selfies. My mom posts Bible verses, does she? Uncle Marty tried to sell a story to some clickbait site, said I weaponized trauma to get sympathy. The site passed. I laughed again. I laugh more these days. I know people expect some big, clean ending. Family reconciled, mom apologizing, Ellis getting a job in therapy. But life's messier than that. I haven't forgiven them. I'm not sure I ever will. But I've made peace with it. They don't get to write my story anymore. I do. Every morning, I unlock the bakery at 5:30 a.m. I flick on the lights. Saffron hops up to the counter. The smell of yeast hits the air. And I feel it. Not bitterness, not fear. Just peace. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's just the sound of a coffee machine humming and a mixer spinning slow. Sometimes it's a kid handing me a burned muffin and beaming like it's gold. Sometimes it's a quiet Sunday with my grandma, dusting powdered sugar on shortbread and remembering the love that survived the fire. Oven Light & Co. isn't just a bakery. It's my proof that I don't need permission. That love can hurt and still leave you stronger. That boundaries are holy. That starting over isn't weakness, it's power. And that no matter what they took from me, they didn't win. I did, One loaf at a time. Story 3. They say you never really know someone until your kid's life is on the line. I found that out 2 months ago, sitting in the pediatric cardiac unit with my 13-year-old son, Jaden. We'd been through years of surgeries, beta blockers, medical checkups, and whispered prayers, but nothing could have prepared me for the moment he flatlined right in front of me. I'm Tessa, 32, single mom, 2 jobs, and zero tolerance for bullshit. I've spent the last decade keeping my son alive and smiling through it. I used to believe love covered up family flaws. I don't anymore. Let me take you back. Jaden was born with a congenital heart defect. Since he was a baby, he's needed medication to regulate his heartbeat. Without it, any stress, physical or emotional, could push his heart into chaos. Every pill, every checkup, every mom, I feel weird moment, that's been my world. 3 days before his final surgery, Jaden had his routine heart scan. It went smoothly. He was even joking around with the nurses, cracking them up with a terrible impression of Batman. That's my boy. Brave, goofy, full of life. I left him resting in the hospital room while I ran home to grab a few things: phone charger, extra clothes, his favorite hoodie. When I got back, my older sister Harper was already there. That should have been the first red flag. Harper never visits unless there's a photo op involved. She's 35, gorgeous, social media polished, and running for city council in Portland. Her campaign, all about family values and community healing. Gag. She stood near Jaden's bed smiling like she gave a damn, but her eyes scanned the room like she was sizing up camera angles. He's looking strong, she said, squeezing my arm. So proud of you for getting this far, Tess. I knew that voice, that fake, syrupy tone she used at fundraisers. I didn't have time for it. I grabbed Jaden's meds from the drawer, double-checked the pill bottle, a ritual I've done for years, and gave him his dose. The next morning, Jaden collapsed during his pre-op exam. Flatlined. The code blue alert sliced through the hospital halls like a knife. I swear, time just stopped. I sprinted toward the chaos, nurses shouting, doctors pushing me back. My baby's body shook uncontrollably on the hospital bed. My legs gave out. My scream got caught somewhere between my chest and throat. I felt like I was drowning. It wasn't until hours later, after they stabilized him and ran blood tests, that the cardiologist pulled me aside. There were no beta blockers in his system, she said gently, like she thought I'd break. What? I blinked. We found filler substances, not the medication he's supposed to be on. I stared at her, shaking, cold. My stomach dropped. I gave him those pills myself. I checked them. Back in his room, I opened his pill bottle and dumped the contents into my hand. They were off. They looked similar, but the texture was wrong. The size was wrong. The imprint wasn't even the right code. My blood turned to ice. Someone switched his meds. I felt sick. I wanted to scream. My hands trembled as I tried to process what the hell had just happened. That's when Harper walked in with a coffee cup and a smug little smile. Maybe he's just stressed, she said, too casually, setting the cup on the windowsill. Kids act out sometimes before surgery. I stared at her. No, it couldn't be, could it? She was the only person near his things yesterday besides me. Then Mom arrived. Hair perfect, pearls on, like she just stepped off a podium. Tessa, honey, don't start dramatizing. It's not good for your image. Image. My son almost died. But Mom only cared about Harper's campaign, about the legacy, about the family name, her actual words to me. Please don't create a scene. You know how bad this could look for Harper. I nearly lost it. My son was fighting for his life, and they were worried about optics. I tried to hold it together, I really did, but Jaden, pale and exhausted, looked up at me and whispered, "Mom, did someone do this on purpose?" That question, that fear in his voice lit a fire in me. I didn't say a word to Harper or Mom. I just grabbed my phone and called Leo. Leo's an old friend, works at the hospital. He's helped me set up a security cam in my apartment last year after a string of break-ins. It records in the kitchen right above the med cabinet. I asked him to pull the last 24 hours of footage. "Please," I begged, voice shaking. "I think someone messed with Jaden's pills." He didn't even hesitate. "I'll send it tonight." That evening, in the hospital cafeteria, alone and numb, I opened the video on my phone. And there she was. Harper, walking into my kitchen, opening the cabinet, taking the pill bottle, opening another tiny bag, swapping the pills, smiling. That smile, it wasn't nerves, it was pride. I slammed my phone down on the table. Rage, pure rage. What kind of twisted person does that to a child? I felt sick. She tried to kill him. There's no other way to say it. All because she didn't want him distracting from her perfect campaign. I looked at the footage again. Harper muttered something under her breath. He gets all the attention. She needs a reality check. I couldn't breathe. I thought I knew her. She used to read Jaden bedtime stories when he was a toddler. She cried when he got his diagnosis. Or was that all fake? I don't know anymore. What I do know is this. They messed with the wrong mother. And they're about to learn exactly what that means. By the next morning, my rage had boiled into something colder, sharper focus. I watched Jaden sleep, one hand curled by his cheek, heart monitor blinking its steady rhythm beside him. Just days ago, I thought we were almost through the worst, but the person who nearly took him from me wasn't a disease. It was my own sister. I still couldn't wrap my head around it. Harper had always been selfish, sure, ambitious, polished, but this? I had to act, and I had to be smart. The hospital's internal investigator was sympathetic when I handed him the footage. He watched the clip twice, his mouth a tight line. I could see his mind racing, calculating what this could mean for the hospital, the legal system, liability. But to his credit, he didn't push it under the rug. "I'll file the report today," he said, "and I'll loop in CPS and legal." But his warning chilled me. She's powerful, Tessa, and she's going to come at you with everything she has. I nodded, jaw clenched. I knew. Not even an hour later, the storm began. Harper's assistant called the hospital administrator, claiming I'd fabricated the footage, edited it, said I was emotionally unstable due to divorce trauma and trying to sabotage her campaign. Then Mom showed up again. She breezed into Jaden's room like nothing had happened. I nearly threw her out, but Jaden was awake, and I didn't want to scare him. "Tessa," she whispered, fake sympathy oozing from her voice. "Please just delete the video. Let's put this behind us. Harper's got a press conference in 3 days. You know how badly this could go for us." "Us?" I stared at her, speechless. "Though." Jaden turned away, pulling the blanket up to his chin. His silence said everything. "Mom," I finally said, "I'm not interested in protecting Harper's image. She tried to kill your grandson." "That's dramatic," she snapped. "Mask slipping. He's fine now, and you can't prove it was her." "I have the footage." "You have a grainy clip and a grudge. That's not evidence. But I promise you this, if you drag this out, you'll lose more than your son's surgery date." The threat was there, thinly veiled. Political connections, media smear campaigns, custody threats. I could see it all in her cold eyes. I didn't reply. I just opened the door and pointed. She left without another word. Later that day, I called Leo again. He sounded distant, tense. "I'm being told not to speak to you anymore," he said quietly. "Legal's all over this." My chest tightened. "You're in trouble because of me." "No, because of them, but I can't officially help anymore." There was a pause. "But off the record," he continued, "I ran the footage through verification, metadata matches, timestamps clean. It's real. Anyone saying otherwise is lying." That gave me the first solid breath I'd had in 24 hours. Still, I was on my own now. That night, Harper released a video online. Tearful, beautifully lit, flawless makeup, full manipulation mode. "I love my nephew," she said, voice shaking, "and I'm devastated that he collapsed, but my sister's been under unimaginable stress. She suffered a lot, and sometimes grief makes people lash out in tragic ways." She was painting me as unstable. And the comments? Brutal. Poor Harper. Praying for her during this attack? Some women shouldn't be mothers. I couldn't stop shaking. I hadn't just lost my family, I was losing the public, the narrative. But I wasn't going to let her win. The next morning, I got a call from Child Protective Services. A social worker would be visiting Jaden's hospital room to do a wellness check. I felt sick. I knew this was Harper's doing, using her network to twist the system. Jaden was sitting up in bed now, drawing superheroes on his iPad. When I told him someone was coming to talk to him, he frowned. "Is this because of what Aunt Harper did?" "Kind of," I said, "but just be honest." "Okay." The social worker arrived just after lunch. Her name was Tanya, soft-spoken and sharp-eyed. She spoke to Jaden alone while I stood outside the door, heart pounding. When she came out, her face was unreadable. "He's clearly a bright, well-adjusted boy, and he told me everything." I blinked. He did. She nodded. I've never heard a kid describe medical routines in such detail. He even knew the names of his meds, dosage, timing. It's obvious he's been cared for meticulously. Relief flooded me. But off the record, Tanya added, "Be careful, people in Harper's position don't go down quietly." I went back to the video. I needed more. There had to be audio, something clearer, something damning. I scanned through frame by frame, then I found it a brief clip after she swapped the pills, just before leaving. She looked directly into the camera and said, "Let's see how perfect he is without his little crutches." It was chilling. Cruel. And I knew exactly what to do with it. I uploaded the full, unedited clip to an anonymous cloud folder. Then I printed a QR code and stuck it inside every hospital bulletin board I could find. Truth, watch what they don't want you to see. I didn't care if it was reckless. If Harper wanted a war, she just got one. By morning, it had 50,000 views. By noon, it hit 100,000. And then the media finally turned. #Harper Exposed started trending. People began to dig. Her old campaign donors started backing away. Sponsors ghosted her. I sat beside Jaden, tears in my eyes, watching him laugh at a TikTok. He didn't know the full story yet. He didn't need to. All he needed to know was that I was fighting. Later that evening, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Thought you could play dirty. Tessa, you've got no idea who you're messing with. This isn't over. I didn't need to guess. It was Harper. I stared at the screen, jaw tight. No, this wasn't over. But for the first time, I was no longer the little sister begging for crumbs. I was a mother protecting her child. And I was just getting started. The viral clip did more than I expected. It cracked the image Harper had spent years perfecting. Suddenly, the world wasn't cheering for her anymore. People were asking questions. Why would someone swap a child's medication? Why was the family trying to cover it up? Who was the real villain in this polished campaign for family values? I didn't expect sympathy, but truth that was starting to cut through. And Harper, she was spiraling. The next morning, I woke to another media stunt. A statement posted across her social platforms, this time with our mother sitting next to her. A calm, grandmotherly smile pasted across her face like this was some cozy kitchen chat. Tessa's grief has clouded her judgment. Mom said she's still mourning the end of her marriage, and now she's confused about what's real. Harper would never harm her nephew. This is just a misunderstanding twisted by someone who's clearly struggling. The knife went in clean. They weren't defending themselves anymore. They were attacking me openly, publicly. Calling me unstable. Calling me broken. And Mom, watching her side with Harper again after everything made something in me finally, irreversibly, snap. I opened the old email folder my father had left me before his death. Legal documents, bank records, personal letters, things he told me to keep just in case. I never wanted to use them. Now I didn't have a choice. 3 days later, I filed an official injunction against Harper and my mother, freezing their assets within the family trust. My father had left control of that trust to me, and in his words, use this power only if your sister becomes dangerous, and your mother enables it. He knew, even back then. That night, my phone lit up with messages from mutual contacts, former donors, political allies, even Harper's fiancé. She's lost it. One of them wrote, "You did the right thing." I didn't feel vindicated. I felt exhausted. Jaden's surgery date was confirmed again just a few days away. I tried to stay focused on him, coloring with him, reading bedtime stories from the hospital chair. We baked imaginary cookies together using the cafeteria's plastic spoons and graham crackers. We laughed. I memorized those moments like scripture. But I couldn't fully relax, not with Harper still out there. And not when I found a USB drive slipped under my windshield wiper one morning in the hospital garage. I glanced around, no one in sight. I plugged it into my laptop an hour later. What I saw made my stomach turn. It was footage of me inside the hospital, in Jaden's room fidgeting with his pill bottle weeks ago. Except it wasn't me. It was deepfake footage, AI generated, and terrifyingly real. They were trying to flip the script. To make it look like I had swapped his meds. I clutched my desk, trying to steady my breathing. They were willing to forge video now, after all the public outcry. This wasn't a scandal anymore. It was a war. I brought the footage to a tech expert Leo recommended, a friend of his who worked in data forensics. His report confirmed what I already knew. It's fake, sloppy in some places, but convincing at first glance. He said, they used AI voice cloning too. I've seen this in political blackmail before. Political blackmail. This had crossed every line. I emailed the report to my lawyer. Then I called the hospital's legal department. They were stunned and terrified. The hospital didn't want to be a battlefield, but they couldn't ignore the obvious attack on one of their patients. Within 24 hours, security around Jaden's room was doubled, media was banned from the floor, nurses were briefed. I felt a little safer. But then I got another call. This time from Leo. "They're trying to pull the divorce card again," he said. "Their lawyer's filing a motion to reopen your custody status, alleging emotional instability, citing everything." "The fake video?" I asked. "And the social media reaction? They're scraping comments, fabricating statements from old neighbors. They're going nuclear." The custody hearing was scheduled for Monday. Jaden's surgery was Friday. That gave them a weekend to sabotage everything. And then I got an idea. I sat down at the hospital's family media room, turned on the webcam, and hit record. "My name is Tessa Hawthorne. I'm the mother of a brave, smart, funny 14-year-old boy named Jaden, and I need to say something publicly." My voice was raw, honest, no makeup, no polish, just truth. I explained everything: Harper's sabotage, the footage, the trust, the fake video, the deepfake confirmation, my mother's complicity, the backlash, the death threats. "I am not a perfect woman," I said, "but I'm a damn good mother, and I won't let anyone take that away from me." I posted the video everywhere. Within hours, it went viral. The comments flooded in again, but this time, they were different. They believed me. They supported me. Mothers, survivors, whistleblowers, nurses, lawyers, even one of Harper's ex-campaign interns who posted, "I saw what she was like behind the scenes. Tessa's telling the truth." That comment exploded. And so did the media's interest. By Sunday, Harper's campaign manager officially resigned. By Sunday night, I got the final call. My lawyer's voice shook with restrained excitement. The judge denied their custody petition pre-hearing, says there's enough evidence of fraud to delay any further action. You're safe, Tessa, for now. I didn't cry. I just sat beside Jaden's bed and whispered, "You're safe, baby. We made it." He stirred in his sleep and smiled, mumbling, "Told you we were superheroes." Friday arrived. The surgery went long. Longer than expected. Every hour felt like another test. Every beep, every nurse whispering outside the doors. But finally, the doctor stepped into the waiting room with a tired smile. "He's going to be okay," she said. "He was strong, just like you said." Relief crashed into me like a wave. My knees gave out. For the first time in months, I cried from something other than fear. By Monday, Harper had vanished from social media. Her campaign was officially suspended. Mom's phone was disconnected. I didn't care. Because I was sitting beside Jaden, coloring in his superhero sketchbook, holding his warm, steady hand. I was winning. And not just for me. For him. For truth. For every mother who's ever had to become a warrior to keep her child safe, the morning light filtered into Jaden's hospital room. Soft and golden. For the first time in weeks, the air didn't feel heavy. He was sitting up, flipping through his sketchpad, his cheeks finally flush with color. He looked alive. The relief was too big to hold in my chest. It spilled out in a silent tear as I handed him a muffin from the hospital cafe. He grinned. "You cried," he said, teasing. "I absolutely did," I whispered, ruffling his hair. "You gave me a heart attack. Mister." His laugh, pure and bright, erased the last of my panic. It was over. At least, the worst part. Outside that hospital room, though, the storm was still unraveling. The DA pressed official charges against Harper: felony endangerment of a minor, tampering with prescription medication, intent to defraud through deepfake manipulation. Her face was everywhere now, not on campaign billboards, but on the evening news. No polished speeches, no staged smiles, just court dates and mugshots. I watched one of the reports in the hospital lounge, sipping bad coffee. There she was, walking into court, surrounded by cameras, her jaw tight, makeup gone, reality sinking in. I didn't feel triumphant, just numb. She had tried to destroy me to protect a lie, to protect herself, and in the process, she nearly killed my son. My mother didn't appear in court. She hadn't called me, not once. But a few days later, I received a letter, handwritten, the envelope unmarked. I almost threw it away, almost. But Jaden was asleep. The room was quiet, so I opened it. It was short, slanted cursive on linen paper. "I don't expect forgiveness. I failed you. I failed him. I thought loyalty to your sister meant strength. I see now it was cowardice. Your father would have stood with you. I should have, too." No signature, just those words. It didn't heal anything. But it was the first honest thing my mother had given me in years. I folded it carefully and tucked it into the back of Jaden's sketchbook. For him, someday, not for me. A week later, we went home. Jaden's recovery was slow but strong. He walked the hallway like it was a finish line. His room felt different now, not a place of waiting, but living. Soren came by that afternoon with flowers and a box of lemon bars. "You look like someone who just returned from battle," he said. I did. I smiled. And I won. He laughed. I never doubted it. There was something different in the way he looked at me, like I wasn't just the friend who used to vent over cheap wine and laundry piles, like he saw what I'd become, who I'd become. I had been so consumed by the fight, I hadn't realized I'd changed. And I had not bitter, not broken, just awake. The foundation, now fully under my control, became my next focus. I renamed it, not after myself, but after my father and Jaden. The Hawthorne Grant Trust, dedicated to supporting children with chronic illness and single parents fighting silent wars every day. I launched the initiative 2 months after Jaden's discharge, standing at a podium with his sketch pad tucked into my purse and his new drawing taped proudly to the foundation banner, a superhero mom in a cape, hugging a boy with a bandaged heart. Reporters came, not to scandalize, but to listen. It felt like rewriting the narrative one press release at a time. As Harper's trial date neared, she reached out. Through her attorney, a plea deal was on the table. Minimal jail time, mandatory therapy, loss of all public office eligibility. I didn't respond. It wasn't my call anymore. That was the DA's job. Justice was already moving forward. But a week later, I received another letter. This time, signed. Harper. I hated how easy you made it look. Being strong, being seen. I thought you always had Dad's approval, his love. I was wrong, and I destroyed everything trying to win something I never understood. I don't expect your forgiveness, but I hope you never see yourself through my eyes again. That last line shook me. Because maybe that was the worst part. I had seen myself through her eyes for too long. Not enough, not worthy. Not anymore. I burned the letter. Let the words turn to ash. One day, while Jaden and I were walking through the park, he turned to me and asked, "Mom, do we have any family left?" I stopped. His question cut deeper than he meant it to. I knelt beside him. "We have people who love us," I said. "That's what makes family, not names, not blood, just love." He nodded, thinking. "Then can we invite Leo and Soren to dinner?" I laughed. "Of course we can." He paused again. "And maybe Grandma if she ever says sorry, for real." My chest tightened. "Maybe one day," I said softly. He seemed satisfied. I wasn't sure if I believed it, but I hoped. 3 months after the surgery, we held a community fundraiser at the local rec center. Not for Jaden, not for the foundation. For other kids. Jaden wanted it, said he wanted to help kids who were still scared. He spoke at the mic, his voice small but steady. "I used to be scared all the time, but my mom showed me we don't have to stay scared. We can fight, and we can win." The crowd clapped. I did, too. With a lump in my throat and my hands shaking. He was becoming everything I dreamed he'd be: kind, brave, whole. Later that night, I sat at our kitchen table with a glass of wine, flipping through his sketchpad. Each page was a battle. A moment. A memory. But the last page? A drawing of him and me, capes fluttering in the wind, the hospital behind us, and a giant sun above our heads. Scrawled in crayon at the top, "We saved each other." And we had... Not perfectly. Not painlessly. But completely. That's how the story ends. Not with revenge, not with applause. But with healing. With the kind of quiet strength that no viral post can fake. With a boy's steady heartbeat echoing louder than his aunt's betrayal. With a mother who didn't back down. And with the truth finally shining brighter than any lie. So if you're watching this and you've ever been silenced, doubted, or forced to shrink for the comfort of others, know this. You are not alone. And you are enough. Thank you for being here. Now it's your turn. Share your story. Your survival might be the light someone else needs today.